Well, good morning. This is Scott with ReadySquirrel.com. I just finished a new article, Preparing to Survive a Blizzard in Your Car or Truck. Not exactly the time of year to be recording this, but I have my son is going to be going to University of North Dakota to attend college, and I wanted to make sure he stayed safe, so I wanted to share this with you guys. I've been watching some of the videos that I've been doing lately. And I'm using screen capture right now. I'll probably eventually start doing actual videos, but I'm actually trying to amp up the SEO on articles on the blog, ReadySquirrel.com. So I would appreciate it if you guys would go over there and click it. I've got a PDF list over there of the 16 steps to winterize your vehicle that you can print out. Hopefully would be helpful. What else? I've been watching my videos. I think I've done 7 so far. Basically what I've been doing is just doing videos of the actual articles I'm writing. And wow, it's really hard not to be just seriously monotone when you're doing these videos. So I don't want to sound like a used car salesman, but I'm going to try to use a little bit of difference in my voice here and there to kind of try to break it up a little bit. Okay, so right to the article. Preparing to survive a blizzard in your car or truck. Here's a table of contents. Again, you can go over to ReadySquirrel.com. I'll have a link down below in comments on the YouTube video, and you can go over there and read the article if you're not interested in listening to me yak. So, 16 steps to winterize your vehicle. Fall is a good time to winterize your car to ensure you don't get stranded on the side of the road. And the following is the list of things that you can check. You want to winterize your radiator with antifreeze mix. Make sure your vehicle has a minimum of 50% water to 50% antifreeze or coolant in the reservoir. You can get an antifreeze tester, or also called a hydrometer, at some place like AutoZone. They're like $6, $7. And I think they will actually also test it for you for free. They can tell you what the mixture of coolant you have in your car, how low in degrees you have protection. It's kind of a balancing act between actually cooling the engine and having the water not freeze. So I've got a chart down below here if you're in some super cold location. I think the average American, the 50-50 mix works. Do not use distilled water in your your radiator. I think for a long time it was suggested that you use the radiator. I actually did an article on can you drink salt water, which is kind of tongue-in-cheek, basically talking about how to the distillation process of seawater so that you can drink it. And one of the things it talked about in there in distilled water is it has a tendency to leach minerals and chemicals from the human body and also from the containers that it's kept in. So I think that's the same thing that's going on here, and why you don't want to use distilled water in your radiator. It actually causes electrolysis, which can damage your cooling system. So just use regular clean tap water. Warning, to some of you this is common sense, to some of you may not know, don't ever remove the radiator cap when the engine's warm. The water can blow out of the reservoir and scald you. Here's an antifreeze concentration chart. Basically, you've got the degrees in Fahrenheit on the left, the concentration of antifreeze to water. You want to maintenance your HVAC system. Test your car heater and window defroster to ensure that they blow hot air. Lubricate your door, trunk locks with graphite spray. Lubricate hood latch and door hinges with WD-40. And lubricate door seals with silicone spray. This is just basically, if you have to get in your hood in bad weather, say to charge a battery or something, you want to make sure that it's operating and that you can get it open if it's 0 degrees out with wind chill factor. Same thing goes for door seals, and with lubricating your door seals with silicone spray, because it'll keep them from somewhat quote unquote, somewhat keep them from icing up so that the door won't stick. You want to check your belts for cracks and dry rot. I'm terrible with this one right here. Replace your timing belt at 60K miles or whatever suggested by the vehicle manufacturer. You can find that in your vehicle's user manual. Inspect your hoses for cracks, loose clamps, sponginess, bulges, hardened glass surfaces caused by heat damage, and replace if necessary. You want to check your headlights, reverse lights, blinkers, hazards, and tail lights. Your brakes. Cold weather doesn't damage your car brakes, but poorly maintained brakes will affect how your car performs on snow and ice. Your fluids, brake, transmission, power steering fluid to make sure that they're the correct level. Engine oil. Of course, you always want to make sure your engine oil is up to snuff and that you're replacing it. Maybe not when the manufacturer recommends it. That's going to be a personal choice. I don't change my oil every 3,000 miles. I go a little bit longer. Usually closer to like 5K. But in the winter, you can change your oil to a thinner viscosity. That's like the thickness of the oil. It will make for an easier engine start in cold weather. And you can find out the parameters of the oils you can use, again, in your owner's manual. Wiper blades. Windshield wipers should be in good condition. Make sure you clean your windshield of snow and ice before turning your wipers on. I didn't put that in here, but I actually like to. If I know there's a storm coming, I'll actually put my wipers up, like pull them away from the windshield so they don't freeze to the the glass of the windshield. Keep an extra set of wipers in your trunk or in your go bag. Battery. Check the condition of your battery, your starting system, your charging system. Most auto parts stores will test your battery for free because they want to sell you a battery. Clean your battery terminals and tighten all the connections just to make sure everything's snug and good to go. Consider snow tires. They have better tread patterns that are designed specifically for driving on snow and ice. And the rubber in snow tires, is softer and offers higher performance when driving in cold weather. Snow chains, I don't know, this is kind of a thing of the past. I think it depends on where you live. You'd have to live into some pretty hardcore weather to use snow chains, or a place that's got a lot of up and down elevation. Some places require them during specific weather conditions, and some places do not allow them at all. So I think if they're not a bad thing to have, but you want to make sure you learn how to use them, how to put them on before you need them. If you only want to drive with snow chains if there's actually ice or snow on the roadway, because if you drive with chains on clean pavement, you'll damage your tires and the road. Your spare tire, I'm terrible with this. I actually just had a flat on a Ford Ranger I used to work out in the food forest, and the flat was really bad. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But for winter, you should have a working spare tire. When I found out that the spare tire was bad, I had it replaced and greased everything up, because you get that. The Ford Ranger has that spare tire that's up underneath the back end of the bed, so it's got the road weather and the salt and everything, and a lot of the stuff was rusted on, so I had to use brake free and wire brush it and everything so that it would be really usable. Tire tread, check the tire tread depth on your tires. I've actually seen 230 seconds here, but then after doing a little bit more reading, if you actually want performance in bad weather, you want to have at least 430 seconds, inch of a tread left on your tires. Any less will affect the performance of your vehicle on snow and ice. You can get a little gauge to check the tire treads, again, at AutoZone. I'm not affiliated with AutoZone, but or you can order one online, Craigslist, or not Craigslist, Amazon. Check your tire pressure. Here's another thing that I'm bad with. I should be doing this every time I put gas in my truck, and I don't. As the weather changes, so does the pressure in your tires. So in winter, as the temperatures drop, the tire pressure drops. You want proper tire inflation in bad weather because it increases the contact between the tire and the roadway, and that improves traction and drivability. Again, you want to check pressure regularly, especially when the weather's going up and down in temperature quite a bit, because that's changing the actual inflation pressure. Check your owner's manual for optimum tire pressure, and you can also check the sticker on the door jamb that's on the driver's side. Your windshield de-icer reservoir, make sure that it's full, and I suggest carrying an extra gallon of de-icer in your vehicle in case you run out. And again, if you go over to readysquirrel.com, there will be a link down below in the comments. You can get a printable download for winter car maintenance. 8 tips before you take your car out in winter weather, just things to think about before you leave the house. If you know bad weather's coming and you don't have to travel, don't. Travel in daylight if possible. Stay on known routes and main roads, and avoid rural service roads and unfamiliar routes that may not be serviced regularly. Like if you're going out in bad weather, try to stay to roads that you know are going to be salted and you know the plows are going to be running. You don't want to get stuck out on some farm road that has no traffic and be stuck out there for a couple days. 3, my kids don't, actually they're getting a little bit older now. They're teenagers, they're getting smart. But I remember when they were a lot younger and we would go somewhere, they would fight us on putting a winter jacket on. Leave the house dressed for winter. Don't depend on the car heater to keep you warm. You know, you see people in the middle of winter going to work in high heels and in a suit and business shoes. If you don't want to wear winter clothes out of the house, at least have them in the car at the very least. Be aware of weather forecasts, road reports, and storm alerts. Just know what's going on with the weather and stay informed before you travel. Try to travel with a full tank of gas. That may not be realistic, but keep your gas tank at least half full. Because if you do get stuck, you're going to need the gas to run the engine to keep the heater going. Here's another one. I actually hadn't thought about this, but it's a good idea. Let family or friends know when you leave and arrive at your destination and the route you'll take. That way, if you're late and don't show up, they'll kind of have a general idea. They'll know where to look for you. Allow for extra time to make your journey, because travel in the snow takes longer. You know, you've got larger traveling distances, slower, takes longer to stop. And you have to drive much more carefully, especially if you've got black ice or sleet or something like that. Dress for cold weather before you leave the house. Oh, that's redundant. I've got that twice. Okay, I'll have to fix that. That's another good thing about doing these videos is I find so many mistakes. No matter how many times I look at these articles, there's always some kind of typo that I find later. Okay, so dress for cold weather before you leave the house. Consider wearing layers. Have warm shoes, boots, gloves, mittens, stocking cap, and a scarf in the car. 9 tips for driving on snow and ice. Drive slowly to counteract limited traction, which affects your ability to steer and stop the vehicle. Make your turns slowly and think ahead, especially at intersections and curves in the road. When your vehicle skids, turn into the direction of the skid and be ready for a second skid as the car straightens out, or the truck. If you hit a slippery spot, take your foot off the gas, but don't use your brakes. Keep your vehicle as straight as possible until the car slows. Increase your following distance between vehicles. Ice or snow can increase your stopping distance by 10 times. Accelerate and decelerate slowly. Quick action leads to loss of control. Don't stop your vehicle unless you have to. Don't use your cruise control in snow or ice. Avoid an accident. As a last resort, you can steer your vehicle into a snowbank to avoid collision with another car. Here's 37 things to stock in your winter emergency vehicle kit. This is a big kit. I recognize that. This is more of a, hey, is that something I need? Maybe it'll jog an idea or a memory, something that you, in your personal situation, will find necessary. Okay, so the following 37s are, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. The following are 37 things to consider storing in your vehicle. Section 1, cold weather sleeping and clothes. Warm blankets, preferably wool. Mylar space blanket for heat reflection. If you have the room, sleeping bags. They're bulky, but they're worth having if you break down. Heavy-duty snow boots. Mittens, if you've got them. Gloves don't keep your fingers as warm because you get that when the fingers are together, they're kind of transferring body heat within the mitten. Extra hats, gloves, and scarves, preferably wool again and not cotton. Once cotton gets wet, it stays wet and it loses its ability to insulate. So you might as well be wearing nothing. And that's, why would that? I'm going to be in a car. Why do I need that? Well, what if you try to dig yourself out of the snow and then you get lathered up and you start sweating? It's just like think about or imagine if you're shoveling your driveway or something like that and how wet you are underneath your clothing when you come back in. You could use a snowmobile suit or have one in the car if you've got it, or clothing you wear when you're skiing or doing outdoor things in the winter. Hand and feet warmers. These things are gold. We actually have a big box of these in the hallway closet. They're activated by air. You basically open the packaging, and there's a reaction with the chemicals in the heater and the air, and they start warming up. They don't get super hot, but if you put them in your gloves or your shoes, it's big. They make a big difference. Emergency signaling and communication for a stranded vehicle. You want to make sure that you have a way in the car if you're stranded to let other people know that you're on the side of the road. Triangle reflectors, road flares, neon plastic strips to hang off of things like the radio antenna, just to mark the outside of your vehicle and alert other drivers of your location. One, because that'll give people an idea that, hey, there's somebody who's stranded and they may be able to help. And two, they won't run into your car. Glow sticks can be placed next to the windshield and the rearview window and can be outside, and they last up to 12 hours. A smartphone charger, adapter that is dedicated to the vehicle, so you always leave it in there. I think most of us have that. And then, of course, your smartphone. Light, heat, and safety gear for your winter car kit. You want a flashlight with spare batteries. You can also use the flashlight on your smartphone. Fire starting equipment. You're probably going to be in the vehicle. I suggest doing the tin can method with sand in the bottom and some emergency candles. You get light from that, and it also puts off a tiny bit of heat. Be aware that candles don't give off much CO2 or carbon monoxide, but they do give off a little bit, so you may want to crack your window. Make sure you have a way to start the fire, like matches, tinder. These things are pretty awesome. I don't think they're great. The ones that I've used, the one that I have is not great for the radio to crank. If you have batteries for it, excellent. But what the crank works really well for is the flashlight. Like, you hardly have to crank at all, and the one that I've got's got LED light on it that's really a quality flashlight. Basic first aid kit, fire extinguisher, toilet paper for personal sanitation, hand sanitizer or baby wipes to keep clean, and 30 foot of cordage or rope. If for some reason you need to walk away from the car, like just say you want to go to the Woodline or something to use the bathroom, if the weather's super bad, you can tie it to the vehicle and you'll have a guide rope back to the car. That would be like if you had whiteout conditions. Food and water for your winter car kit. You want to store some non-perishables in there: granola bars, trail snacks, raisins, hard candies, chocolate. Food actually is one of the things you need to keep you warm, and so is hydration. Bottled water, place in a cooler to keep it from freezing. Otherwise, you'll have to thaw it out. Hydrating keeps you warm. I suggest actually having a metal container to melt snow for drinking water. You don't want to... if you have no option, you can eat snow, but know that it reduces your core body temperature. So it's not something that is suggested to survive on without first melting it into water. Roadside Tools for your winter car kit. You want something to give you traction: sand, kitty litter, traction pads, or old pieces of carpet for emergency traction. A heavy-duty towing strap, so a passing vehicle can pull you out of a snowbank or vice versa. You could pull somebody out. Snow shovel to dig your tires out. You can use one of those Army-style fold-up shovels. They get pretty compact, like 6 by 6 inches. Make sure you've got jumper cables. Make sure you've got a quality ice scraper. I am notorious for breaking these things. So I think it's worth paying a little bit of extra money to get a solid one. Car escape tool, those like the little hammers with a point on them, so you can bust a window out if you need to. If you for some reason get stuck in the car, or get trapped in the vehicle. Emergency tire repair kit. This can be used, but having a functional spare tire is preferred. I think you absolutely have to have a spare, in my opinion, but that's a personal choice. This may or may not work depending on how much damage there is to the tire. This is basically just a can with some goop in it that you spray right into the nozzle, and then it seals the inside of the tire. This may be a pipe dream here, carry extra gas. If you've got a dually, you probably have the room. If you're driving a little Nissan, you may not have the room to carry extra gas. But if you do carry extra gas, use non-ethanol, as it lasts longer and it doesn't produce as many fumes. And you can add fuel stabilizer to increase the gas's shelf life. My grandfather had one of these, always had one in his car. Portable Lady John, Jane Porta Potty, John or Jane Porta Potty. It's a little bottle that you can use to do your necessaries. And that allows you to stay in the vehicle. So in case someone needs to go to the bathroom, that's what that's for. You want to have a simple toolkit in your car that includes screwdrivers, a wrench kit, duct tape, and then any of the other things that you think you might need, like extra fuses, stuff like that. First aid kit. Oh, that's a redundancy, isn't it? Okay, first aid kit again. I guess I wanted to say that twice. Okay, insulation for your winter car kit. 3mm trash bags, contractor grade. They can be used for sanitation, as a waterproof outer layer, or to cover windows and make a warm zone. Trash bags have so many uses in survival situations. I can't list all of them here. It's just nice to have a couple on board. Cardboard. You could line the bottom of your trunk with cardboard, use it to keep it clean, and then if you need it in emergency, you can use it as a cold barrier. Duct tape and paracord can be used with wool blanket, contractor bags, and cordboard to create a warm zone in the car. Tarp can be used as a blanket or to create a warm zone in your vehicle. And have a knife or a multi-tool to cut tape, trash bags, and cardboard or rope. 21 things to do when your vehicle is actually stranded. Make sure the car exhaust pipe and engine compartment are clear of snow. You don't want to get hit with carbon monoxide buildup in the vehicle. Turn on your hazard lights or set roadside flares near your vehicle to alert other cars of your presence. Don't stress out and think before you act. Your brain is your most essential tool you have in a survival situation, so stay calm and think before you act. Stay with your vehicle unless you know you can make it to alternate shelter. Keep moving your body parts. Loosen tight clothing, rub your hands together, and don't expect to be comfortable. You're in survival mode. And I talk a little bit about hypothermia and frostbite. If possible, move your car to a safe location like the shoulder of the road. That's so you don't get hit by vehicles traveling the road. Make your vehicle visible with road flares. That's redundant. I think I said that again. Stay with your car. Didn't I just say that? Stay with your vehicle, stay with your car. Oh, wow. I must have been sleeping when I wrote this. Okay, let's see what I said here. Stay with your car if you're in the middle of nowhere or in whiteout conditions. Yeah, this makes sense. If you're in Timbuktu, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to want to stay with your vehicle for sure. But if you're in an urban area with stores and shops, you may be able to reach a warm location. So that would be a good option. You may want to have somebody stand watch if you have multiple people in the car. Have someone stay awake to keep an eye out for passing vehicles and to monitor lit candles and warming devices. Contact emergency services immediately with your GPS coordinates. You can find your coordinates on your smartphone or an app like Google Maps. Learn how to do this Excuse me. Learn how to get your GPS coordinates before you need them. Provide emergency services with the number of people in your car, your location, and the problem you're experiencing. Follow the directions they give you. You may be told to stay where you are and wait for rescue. Don't get off the phone until you know who you're speaking with and what will happen next. If you have to leave the vehicle, leave a note with your contact information and your destination. Put on extra clothing. You have to retain body heat. Wool is the best choice, again, because it insulates the body even when it's damp. Cotton kills because it doesn't insulate when it gets wet. Share body heat with others in the vehicle if possible. Run the vehicle sparingly for 10 to 15 minutes per hour to keep your car as warm as possible. Make sure you keep your exhaust pipe clear of snow, debris, and leave a window crack to exhaust carbon monoxide. Never warm your vehicle in an enclosed area. Charge your phone when the vehicle is running. Keep your vehicle radiator clear to keep the engine from overheating. Conserve the battery on your smartphone by turning down the screen brightness, close all the unused apps, turn off Wi-Fi until you need it, and turn on airplane mode. Regularly check that your exhaust tailpipe is clear of snow to keep deadly carbon monoxide from coming into your car. That's redundant. Crack a window to vent deadly carbon monoxide. Take stock of food and water and ration. Don't eat snow unless you melt it first, unless you have no choice. Again, it reduces your core body temperature. Don't overexert yourself by trying to dig the car out. That's one thing you want to keep in mind. Like if you exert yourself, once you get cold in a cold situation, it's much harder to warm yourself back up. So if you go outside and you try to dig your car out and you get all lathered up and sweaty, and then the car starts to cool down, that's kind of dangerous. So use caution. Stay warm to avoid hypothermia, kind of just what I said before. Hypothermia occurs when your body produces less heat than it loses. And again, it's much easier to stay warm than it is to warm back up. So don't put yourself in a situation where you get wet or super cold. Okay, guys, if you think I missed anything or if you have any suggestions or comments, you can let me know down below in the YouTube comments, or you can go over to ReadySquirrel.com, check it out, and download that free PDF, 16 Steps to Winterize Your Vehicle. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys.